The decommissioning of the Tui oil field, 50 kilometres off the Taranaki coast, concluded last month.
Once the infrastructure is removed, the wells are considered plugged and abandoned, leaving the seafloor free from any equipment and restored to its natural state.
It cost taxpayers $293 million to clean up after the Malaysian permit holder went bust in 2020, which prompted the previous Labour government to change the law.
So we could avoid the situation where taxpayers were lumbered with the liability again.
But now the power to decide who cleans up will sit with Resources Minister Shane Jones.
It posits the responsibility with a minister to make the judgment as to what flexibility, because no statute, no bureaucrat can know all the scenarios.
What is clear is that he sent his officials away to sit down with oil and gas companies who made demands, and the minister capitulated.
It was an 11th hour amendment to the Coalition's legislation to repeal the previous Labour government's ban on oil and gas exploration.
I feel it'll restore confidence, but most importantly it'll overcome the sense of uncertainty and fear that stakeholders have at Jacinda's decision to cancel the oil and gas industry.
Technically it was his decision too, though at the time he clearly didn't look too happy about it. Shane Jones stood next to Jacinda Ardern in 2018 to announce the ban when New Zealand First was in government with Labour and the Greens.
This is an MMP government, and within the privacy of our own discussions, we have our say.
It was a far cry from 2007 when Labour was in government under Helen Clark, who attended the launch of the Tui oil field.
A development like the Tui fields brings many benefits to us, not least the contribution to economic and job growth.
Our times of change, it's been abundantly clear for a long time that New Zealand had to plan for a future that was beyond gas and beyond oil.
The Coalition wants to restore oil and gas exploration for energy security. $200 million was set aside in the budget to allow the government to co-invest in new gas fields.
I'm confident, based on my recent trip up to Singapore, that there's ongoing interest.
Not only is the government letting down New Zealanders by not protecting their interests, not investing to create the jobs here, that they've been warned by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade in the passing of this legislation that this could damage our international reputation and it could put at risk our trade deals.
But in this House, the Coalition holds the power, and the oil and gas ban repeal is set to pass into law tomorrow.
Well, Zane's with us now. Zane, the government's also announced plans to expand Kiwi Bank.
That's right. Kiwi Bank has been given the green light to raise up to $500 million in new capital to help it compete against the big four Australian banks. For those who aren't familiar with the structure, Kiwi Bank's parent company is Kiwi Group Capital, which is government-owned. And today the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, said there was sufficient interest from investors within New Zealand to raise that money to help Kiwi Bank grow and compete against the likes of ANZ. And further down in her announcement, she said, quote, "A future government may choose to publicly list Kiwi Bank on the stock market," and suggested that the government would maintain at least 51% ownership. So it looks like something National will campaign on at the next election, and it will set it apart from New Zealand First, with Winston Peters clearly not keen on the idea. Take a look.
What we have indicated is that we would still want a Kiwi share, we would still want majority New Zealand ownership of it, a very clear New Zealand identity, and we would want limits on foreign ownership.
Well, the reality is that she has said she's going to go to the election with that policy, so the policy doesn't exist now, and presumably she's talking about getting a mandate. Well, that'll be their National Party's policy, and they're entitled to campaign on those issues, and you know what our policy says.
Now, on a completely different issue, we have just learned that the FBI director was in the Beehive today and that he was spotted in the basement by a News Talk ZB reporter. So Kash Patel, he's a former Trump advisor. He's currently the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States. And we don't know why he is here, but it is worth remembering that New Zealand is part of an intelligence sharing alliance with the United States, Canada, the UK and Australia called the Five Eyes. So a mysterious high-level visit on a busy day at the Beehive.
The plot thickens, Zane. Thanks so much for that update.